All right, guys, I apologize. I was struggling with our streaming software. It was not behaving. So I apologize for the rough start. Guys, thank you again for joining a live session of the Watercraft Journal. I am your host, Kevin Shaw. I am still struggling with my setup. My setup is not dialed in. Look how crooked the background is. Here, let's fix that. Looks like I'm in an old Batman episode from the 60s. Pow, whap. All right. Hey, great. It's been a few weeks since we've done one of these, and I wanted to get back in the habit again. So hopefully everyone here is also shaking off the cobwebs and wanting to get back into the summer process of doing the live sessions. We also are in the process of producing some videos, some vehicle reviews. So those are coming up as well. We have to acknowledge a few things that happened. Excuse me. Have to acknowledge a few things that happened, unfortunately, in the industry, and it's worth noting. Sadly, most relevant is the passing of Dean Charrier of Dean's Team Racing, Dean's Team Performance Products. Dean. We did an article on the Watercraft Journal that was published this morning. He passed away, sadly, I want to say Wednesday or Thursday of last week due to complications from a pretty severe heart attack. And unfortunately, it was the terrible responsibility of his wife and daughter and son to terminate prolonged care. He unfortunately was showing excessive brain damage from oxygen starvation, which is pretty common in a lot of very severe heart attacks. And that is it's just a shame because Dean was a bigger than life guy. He was a bigger than life personality. Dean towered over me. I mean, he was almost 6'5". He was a big guy and big. I mean, he was just big all the way around and just had this way about him. And he kind of sucked up all the air in the room when he came in. He was one of these kinds of guys. Dean was very instrumental in getting the Aswars, the Aswar brothers, the national and world championships that they did get. And Dean was instrumental in getting a lot of domestic racers the national championships and world championships that they got as well. Dean had a tremendous mind for engines and engine optimization, performance optimization. Had a great inquisitive mind. He was brilliant to talk to. If you were any sort of guy who was into engines, he would wear you out. And very dry sense of humor. He had a very kind of, his wit was not up front. He was funny, but you looked at him and you're like, I can't tell if he's messing with me or not. And he'd hold it too. So it was really funny. But yeah, sadly, we have to mourn the passing of Dean Charrier. I believe his son-in-law and his son Dustin are going to be keeping Dean's team going, as there is a catalog of performance parts and services that they did offer. And there's no reason to board it up. The innovations and breakthroughs that were made by Dean are entirely relevant today. So if you are looking for a ride plate, intake grate, performance packages that have been absolutely proven, Dean's team is still very much on the radar, very much a force to be reckoned with. So I strongly recommend, if you're in that market, especially high performance handling, cornering, acceleration. A lot of people that are here may not be interested in buoy course racing. But if you want something that handles like a Porsche GT3, it's Dean's team, and that's for sure. So that has been that's been the biggest news thus far, is the passing of Dean Sherrier, and that is sadly we're losing a lot of some of the best guys. We just are, and I think back to some of the best people I knew in this industry, and it's making me have the familiar feeling of I think I'm at the party too long. I think I'm the last guy at the party, and the lights are on, the music's off, and people are walking around with trash bags collecting red Solo cups. I feel like I'm kind of hanging out too long. But so there's that. Right now, there was an announcement made that Yamaha, and these went out to dealerships, that prices would be reevaluated and tariffs would be factored into the price of a lot of products. Weirdly enough, on this letter was not Watercraft. Now, obviously, we understand that Watercraft are built in the Noonan facility. I'm going to export this as a PDF, and I'm going to bring this up. This was issued on Thursday, June 12th, to all the motorsports dealers. And let's see if I can't share this. Present slide PDF, your computer, upload file. Here we go. And it is processing. I'm going to show you this. Here we go. So this is the letter that went out last week to the dealers. And for a lot of people who have product, I'm not hearing about a lot of people who are waiting on product. Most product that you're looking for is already on the floor. There's not a big back order on product, and I have not seen production holdups from Yamaha. And I know in previous years they've encountered supply chain problems, and that has caused backlogs in product. But right now they are not announcing any sort of delay in product. What they are announcing rather are, and this is the third paragraph, these surcharges that are applied. Well, let me back up. I'll read the smaller one. Smaller one states, the surcharges are based on country of origin for whole goods, global supply base, and raw materials for domestically assembled products. Again, Yamaha is very good about assembling products domestically. The surcharges will affect all 2025 and 26 motorcycles, ATVs, and side-by-side models, not Watercraft. So a lot of people in the Watercraft communities on Facebook and Instagram and all these things are starting to wring their hands and get nervous. And from everything that is officially stated here, that is not the case. This is not what to be worried about. So it states, updated model lists will be available on YDS, that's the Yamaha dealer system, on June 18th, which is this coming Wednesday. They can be accessed on the Motorsports Sales tab by clicking on the button labeled pricing, yada, yada, yada. It's all dealer network. That's how the sausage is made. But, so, again, I want to assuage any concerns that product are being delayed or prices are being revised. Thus far, personal watercraft wave runners are exempt from this letter that went out. So hopefully for those people who are passing this letter around on Facebook or other social media, this will calm things down a little bit. So take heart. There's no surprise charges coming for personal watercraft. But I will say this. Right now, you are looking at dealers who are sitting on multiple years worth of product. You will find 2024 and even in some cases 2023 brand new models that have been sitting on flooring, what they call flooring, have been sitting on showroom floors for quite some time. And these models, having been around a year and a half, even 2 years, you're going to find dealerships very, very motivated to sell a 2024 model. 2024 model or a 2023 model. Look, Lawrence writes, there's a 2023 Apex still 10 miles from me. So, that being said, dealers are very, very motivated to offload these. This is a neat option. Wait a minute. Comments take stage. Live comments from viewers will appear on screen during your stream. Oh, so people can see the comments. Oh, this is fantastic. That's a new feature. Okay. Guys, let me know if you can see the comments coming through, because I'm excited for this. This is great. That way everyone can see the comments coming in. Okay. Sorry, I got distracted. Shiny new things. Squirrel. Anyway, if you are in the position to consider buying a new personal watercraft, you are going to probably find no better highly motivated dealership than this year. There are dealers who are very, very interested in offloading product that has been sitting there for quite some time. Sorry. So I'm supposed to drink a gallon of water a day. Holy cow! Ugh. I'm on a cleanse. Anyway, so although it's a big purchase and a lot of people are not in the position to be buying brand new units, we will see what's especially as we get late into summer. It's only June. It's the middle of June. As we get into July and August and we start creeping into the third quarter, a lot of these dealerships are going to be crying for mercy to get out of the flooring that they've got. I don't want the... There we go. Okay, so everyone gets to see the dog door going to the garage. There you go. So, that being said, let's talk a little bit about the nature of the personal watercraft that we're talking about. Today's topic, I think the art that we created might have been a little off-putting. It might have been a little curious. This is literally a message from Dustin Charrier. Wow. Okay, let's see what he says. Oh, gosh. All right, come on. I'm not getting through here. Messenger's being a pill. Anyway, okay, I'll handle that after the show. But I want to talk about something that is inside baseball. It's not your usual fare when it comes to a personal watercraft news outlet. And that is primarily that questions. We don't print anything. We've never printed anything in our 13 years of publishing, guys. Oh, goodness. All right. So 1995, we're going back 30 years. 1995 was the single largest, highest number of personal watercraft sold in a single year ever. And it was six figures. It was about 100. I want to say it was 117,000 units were sold in a single year. The next highest number that I have ever heard, I want to say was, it was 2018 or 2019. And it was 84 to 86,000 units. And a large percentage of that were Sparks. What was going on in 2019? What was going on in 1995 that made things so demonstrably different? If the next highest sales year was almost 30,000 units less, what were the manufacturers doing in 1995 that they're not doing today? Well, for funsies, I brought this up. All right, remove this and add this. Okay, this is a AI list of, I believe it's incomplete. I believe it leaves out quite a few of the different trim models. I think it leaves out quite a few different options. But this is the, something is really funky about what do you guys prefer? That's a little too weird. Yeah, my usual background's missing. All this stuff was missing. It was kind of weird. So anyways, let's bring this up. So this list is supposed to be, and I would love to see if there are units missing for you guys to pipe up and say something. But this is supposed to be all the new units from 1995. All right. And we're going to go over them. So Sea-Doo, Bombardier. All right. We had the Sea-Doo SP, had the small 600cc or 587. We go to the XP, which was the 717 and the 787. Sea-Doo GT, 720. GTX, 720. HX, 717. SPX, 787. All right. All sit downs, no stand ups. Almost all of them are two-seaters, except for one, which was the GTX, which was a three-seater. And heaven knows that when they call it a three-seater, it's really a two-seater. And when they call it a two-seater, it's really a one-seater. All right. These are all very small, very nimble, very lightweight two-stroke runabouts. We get into Kawasaki. I asked for AI to jump in and distinguish between stand-up and sit-down. Excuse me. All right, had a little bit of a hiccup there. All right, so stand-up models. You had the 715. You had and the 800 was not out yet. So this is incorrect. The 800 did not come out until much later. Didn't come out until the 2000s. So this is incorrect. So the 750 was the stand-up. Then the sit-down models that they offered were the 900, the 1100, the ST 750, STX 900. All right. For Kawasaki, they offered three three-seaters and one two-seater, the ST 750. All right. Yamaha also. Wait a minute. I grabbed the wrong list. This is a revised list. Okay, let's make sure I didn't screw up. Okay, Sea-Doo SP, XP, GT, GTS, GTX, HX, SPX. Okay, stand-up models. The 800 is still not correct. Let's see. Sit down. The 900, the 1100, both 3-seaters, the ST750 2-seater. Kawasaki STX 900 is a 3-seater. Yamaha stand-up models was the 701 Superjet. Weirdly, they called the Wave Blaster a stand-up. Okay. I would not call the Wave Blaster a stand-up, but then again, the Wave Blaster and Kawasaki did not include the X2 primarily because it was not a U.S. model. All right, sit-down models for Yamaha. Yamaha Wave Runner 3, Wave Runner 700, 1100, and the 500. The 500 was already, correct me if I'm wrong, but the 500 was already replaced. So unfortunately, AI is not entirely reliable. Then we had the Polaris lineup. Polaris SL 650, 750, SLT 780, and the SLT 650. Two of these, the SLTs were 3-seater. The other SLs were 2-seaters. So as you can see, and something that is worth noting, that the vast majority of offered units were 2-seaters, or in all honesty, sorry, here we go. That's what I was trying to do. Okay, I screwed up. But sorry. Technical difficulties. Well over the majority. I would say 60% of the units offered were either stand-ups or 1-seater runabouts. These are sporty. These are lightweight. These are personal units. These are individual or personal units. Now, what was the number one complaint for 2- and 3-seater runabouts? Number one, you tipped over, you fell off of it. The experience of rolling a jet ski, the experience of falling off a jet ski, for many people who were not adventurous, was frightening. When interviewed, people would say, I'm afraid of falling off. I'm afraid of rolling over. I don't want to fall into the lake. And that was a hurdle for potential buyers. So manufacturers see this and they go, well, there's a lot of folks who are uncomfortable being so unstable. And we want to sell more units, of course. And so what do? But we want to make this more accessible to the average buyer. We progress through the 90s and we start getting bigger, wider runabouts. The best example I can give you is the Wave Blaster. Wave Blaster goes from a little 1-seater, they call it a 2-seater, but that's ridiculous. A little 1-seater Wave Blaster, we get the Blaster 2, and then we get the Blaster 3. These get larger, heavier, wider, more stable. Now, to their credit, they also become far better at handling corners, far better at busting the lip off of waves, far better built for that matter. So, in that case, you start seeing the evolution of these small units gravitating towards less adventurous riders. But what happens year after year after year? Less and less sales. Now we have the advent of the 4-stroke, 2002, 2003, 2004. We start seeing private lakes. We start seeing small waterways, different states making different legislation, outlawing 2-strokes, primarily, let's be real honest, primarily jet skis. Start outlawing 2-stroke jet skis to be on these certain waterways. This basically puts a gun to the manufacturers' heads. Manufacturers say, guys, we need a 4-stroke and we need it fast in these skis. Sea-Doo, Yamaha are quick to the punch and they get the 4-strokes out there running pretty quickly. Problem is, A 4-stroke requires oil pan, requires an oil supply, requires coolant, requires gasoline, requires all these things that are traditional to a boat or a car or other 4-stroke engines. A 4-stroke engine is anywhere from double to 3 times the weight of a 2-stroke. All right. Well, with that added weight, you can't just drop a 180-pound 4-stroke engine into a watercraft that normally housed an 80 to 90-pound engine. The balance is off. The attitude of the watercraft is off. Everything about what that ski will do is backwards. So they build heavier, wider, more structurally sound, more stable runabouts. We used to joke when I was back at Personal Watercraft Illustrated, we joked that the 2-stroke SUV and LRV were basically test balloons for the audience. The test balloon was, hey, will the audience buy a giant runabout that seats 3.5 people, that has a bunch of storage, that is absurdly level and has 0 body roll and will not roll into a corner but turn flat? Why? Because they knew 8 years later, runabouts, a traditional runabout would be just as big as an SUV or LRV. It's a sad indicator of the future. Okay, so what are we to take from this? Now, today's market, and I would say back almost as far back as 2013, 2014, with the advent of the 900 Ace engine, we are no longer constrained by a large displacement, heavy 4-stroke engine. The Yamaha TR1 and the Spark, the 300 or the 900 Ace engine, are both incredibly lightweight 3-cylinder 4-stroke engines that produce tremendous power, great torque, great throttle response, immediate power on demand. These are great engines. Both Yamaha and Sea-Doo have done a tremendous job with these engines. Kawasaki has not come to the table with a 1-liter. Now, there is a 1-liter. It's a 998 1-liter that's in the H2 and H2R motorcycles. But for Watercraft, we're still waiting for their 1-liter. We're still waiting for a small displacement 4-stroke. So let's just focus on Yamaha and Sea-Doo for the time being. These two manufacturers have done exactly what's been asked of them and have produced effectively a 4-stroke that behaves like a 2-stroke. Great engines. Great engines. Reliable engines. And to be honest, flexible engines. They could power a 3-seat runabout, or they could power a little 1-seater Spark or Jet Blaster. They're great. They're great. TR1's in the Superjet. So, what am I getting at? What am I getting at? Is that we have seen this evolutionary bell curve. But now we're back to where we started. A 1-liter making 110, 115 horsepower, 120 with a tune. Honestly, puts us back into the stage or Parthenon of the small runabout, the small HX, the small SP, the small XP. Here we go. We got a whole list of these guys here. All right. We are no longer having to compensate for a big, heavy engine and a big, heavy gas tank and say, well, it's a 4-stroke. Our hands are tied. That was the story in 2007. That was the story in 2012. But today, with the TR1 and with the Ace, we can go back to a small, nimble, quick runabout. Unfortunately, we have also lost in the 30 years since 1995. We have also lost 2 generations of jet ski riders who know what it's like to ride an HX at balls out, and who don't know what a Wave Blaster 2 feels like. Manufacturers, to their credit, to Yamaha's credit, to Sea-Doo's credit, they've come out with the Jet Blaster Pro with the Spark Tricks. The Tricks is, a little peppier, but these are primarily done for donuts and jumping and fun little tricks and fun little, wheel stands and things like that. Okay, great. Hey, listen, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not denigrating that. But we think today, through today's lenses, we think a performance model has to be a GP 1800R or an RXPX. A large 2-seater with 300 plus horsepower, intercooled, supercharged, 20-gallon, 18-gallon gas tank. Monster unit that goes 70, 71, 72 miles an hour out of the box. Uncorked, 75 to 78 miles an hour. That is our mindset. Our mindset is that is a performance machine. Now, I am going to throw a wrench in that. And that wrench will materialize in a phrase that has gone out of, quite frankly, it's gone out of favor. It's not popular anymore. And that is the phrase musclecraft. And a musclecraft was it was kind of a hot topic okay, here we go. Of course, I brought it up because I'm me. But a true musclecraft, and I'll show you in a second. A true musclecraft was a phrase used for the last hurrah of 1-seater. And I say 1-seater, it's really a 2-seater, but God knows it wasn't. The old 2-strokes, the last of the 2-strokes, and the early supercharged 4-strokes that were a single rider, that were fast, nimble, and lightweight. And the FZR was the first, and Kevin makes a good point. The FZR was the first of the full-size performance 2-seater. And it was a tremendous machine. I loved the FZR, but the FZR was big when you compared it up against what was, quite frankly, the king of the crop of the muscle crafts. And that was, let me cut to this. Wow, that is a funny split. Why would they split it like that? Let's do it this way. There we go. Or this. No, I don't like that one. That one's terrible. This one's better. Was the RXPX 255. The RXPX 255 and its lesser 215 RXP absolutely changed the landscape of personal watercraft. How can I say that? This is the machine that created Green Hulk. Not the silver one, but the first these guys. No. Sorry. That's stupid of me to say that. It was the green and black one, but here's an 07. Okay, great. So here's an 07. These machines are what created Green Hulk. These are the machines that took Musclecraft across the 5-yard line into the goal zone. And Musclecraft have all but vanished. Musclecraft need to come back. And the Musclecraft that I am looking for, the Musclecraft that need to check off certain boxes, are either supercharged or turbocharged jet blasters and a turbocharged high horsepower, high speed Spark. Gonna be real honest. This will bring, I'll tell you what, a 62 mile an hour Spark will be far more thrilling than any 80 mile an hour RXTX 325. I say this with a surety. And I say this with absolute surety, pointing my finger at all the yahoos and all the YouTube channels who are doing nothing but pushing customers 325s into the 80, late 80, mid to late 80s, high 90 or low 90s. Okay. RXPs, RXT 325s, or GTX 325s for that matter too. Those are not exciting. These are not exciting people. These are not athletes. These are not anyone to admire. I'm not trying to denigrate people, but I'm saying that the sport and the stuff that excited people and created pioneers were birthed out of Musclecraft. And Musclecraft have to be small. They have to be a one-seater runabout that goes fast. Now, is 65 miles an hour fast? Yes. All right. Because at the time, the 215 RXP topped off at 64 miles an hour when it hit the ground. It was going 63, 64 because they were trying to match the old two-stroke motors. Then they go, well, wait a minute. We can get a little bit more out of this. Start seeing 67. Start seeing 68. Start seeing 70. Because guys were tuning them. Jerry Gaddis. R&D Racing. Riva Racing. You started seeing innovation. All right. You started seeing ground being broken. We are back there. Yeah, 72 with a few mods. But out of the box, wasn't doing 72. And to get into the 70s, you felt like a freaking hero. All right. So some manufacturers might sit there and go, well, wait a minute. We're already offering Watercraft that could go 80 with very little mods. Yes, you are. You are. And we applaud you for that. But I look at it a little bit like let's rewind the clock 10 years. Let's rewind the clock. It's 2015. Chevrolet has the Corvette, and it's got the Camaro. Dodge has the Viper GTS, and it's got the Challenger first year of the Hellcat. Ford has the GT or the GT40, but they lost the license name for GT40. But they had the GT supercar, and then they have the GT500 or the GT350 Mustang. All right. All three manufacturers offer a supercar, Z06, ZR1 Corvette, and then they offer a ZL1 Camaro. Okay. Dodge has the GTS, you have the ultimate, the ACR Viper. You have all these track attack Vipers, insane track cars. The Viper held the fastest production vehicle lap time at Nürburgring for like 16 years or 14 years, some crazy amount of years. All right. And then they have the Hellcat. And then Ford's got the Supercar GT, designed after singularly one of the coolest American cars ever built, which is the Mark II GT40. Won Le Mans 6 years in a row. Or not in a row, but they won it 4 times in 6 years. And then you have muscle cars. No one's going to sit there and go, my Camaro, my Hellcat Challenger, and my GT500 Mustang are track cars equivalent to a ZR1 Corvette, an ACR Viper, or a GT40. They're very different machines. You have a mid-engine supercar, you have a supercharged Corvette with a carbon fiber body, and then you have a carbon fiber V10 insane Viper that is wiping the floor with GT2 and GT3 Porsches. They're not the same. They're not the same animal. And so I would argue that the full-size performance machines, the GP 1800R, the Ultra 310R, whenever it chooses to come out, God help us, and the GTX Limited 325 or the RXTX 325 or even the RXPX 325 for that matter, full-size heavy-ass machines, are the same thing as a turbo spark or a turbo jet blaster. I wouldn't expect them to be the same. All right. I wouldn't want them to be the same. But what I am arguing is that there is a demographic of people who are okay falling off a ski, who are okay getting wet, who are okay having a loose, tippy ride. Similar to 1995, their heyday, their watermark for total sales versus what they're selling today. The question is there a buying public? Is there a market for a 61 or 62 mile an hour one-seater EX blaster or spark? I argue that there is. Their research, Yamaha's research, Sea-Doo's research doesn't show that. It doesn't reflect that. But I believe they're not polling the right groups. I believe they're not talking to the right people. Okay? They're talking to previous owners, previous buyers, people who have been buying the product that they've been offering for the last 15 years. But they have never broken the 100,000 unit mark since 1995, when in 1995, 65% of the models were either stand-ups or one-seaters. Now we can get into the conversation of whether, hey, it's easier, it's better, it's more profitable for us to sell one $30,000 GTX Limited 325 with all the bells and whistles and all the added all the other Mickey Mouse stuff that, and accessories and all the crap. We get an elderly couple in their early 60s to go buy a GTX Limited for $28,000 worth of trailer or whatever the hell they end up getting for it, versus trying to sell 3 $8,000 or $7,000 or $9,000 stand-ups to a bunch of 20-year-olds, to 3 different 20-year-olds who have iffy credit, if any credit at all. I get that argument. I get it. I understand it. The dealer would be like, I would rather have minimal sales staff and deal with an established buyer. Yes, Kevin, it's called the Explorer Pro. You're exactly right. The windshield and the heated hand grips. We've had this argument. I have beaten this horse into dog food. I have pulverized this dead horse. But the argument that I'm making, and the argument that I hope finds a home with you or anyone who listens to this podcast, is that I'm one of this audience. I'm part of this demographic. I want this product. I do not have any interest in your current product. I do not have any interest in a $22,000 RXPX. I do not have interest in a $22,000 Ultra 310R. I do not have any interest in a 1,000 pound or 950 pound RXPX, or excuse me, I meant to say FX SVHO or whatever it might be. I don't have any interest in this. I'm interested in a lightweight one-seater that I can jump wakes, that I can go to my favorite break and jump waves and get air, or that I can go fast and then do a snap donut and see if I can hang on and might get ejected and slide across the water for 10 feet. Some people want to do that. I like that. That is fun. You cannot bring prices back. You cannot bring prices back until the economy buoys. All right. Gas is still expensive. It's gone down, but domestic production still sucks. And we're in the middle of summer. And unfortunately, in my opinion, I do not believe that Donald Trump has paid off. In the 6 months thus far, I am not seeing my vote deliver like it did the first time. And what's weird is that he's not being held back. He's not being held back by a bunch of Mitt Romneys and Mitch McConnells. And he's got everyone in that he's handpicked. And they are just doing business as usual. They're going to war. They're supporting Israel. They're supporting fighting. They're on what, you know, they're not doing what I want. They're not doing what I voted for, which was domestic production, oil production, energy costs, and money back in the hands of the individual. And that's where we are right now. I hate to say it, and this sounds terrible. It makes me sound like a Democrat, but I really liked what Elon Musk said. He goes, hey, we've uncovered almost $1 trillion worth of misspending. Why don't we take that money and give everyone $3,500? Do you know what $3,500 would have done to a lot of people in March? No, Paul. You want to know why, Paul? I disagree with that. Because Obama did the exact same thing, because it was just Obama third term. It was just Obama third term. And Paul, I have Holly's hanging on my wall. And Holly's an advertiser in this magazine. I get whatever the hell I get. If I need a 850 double pumper, or if I need a Sniper 2 kit, I make a phone call. I'm good. But thank you, though. Yeah. I don't think the damage that Biden did is any worse than what Obama did, because the Biden administration was simply the third term of the Obama administration. Joe Biden wasn't president. Joe Biden was a sock puppet. We know for the fact that he was going through cancer treatment. His chief of staff was former chief of staff for Biden or for Obama. Same guys. So I just don't think economically, I think economically we're not seeing. I think the auto pen was president, right? Which was Obama's chief of staff. So the hard thing right now is that we are not seeing the about face with the economy that we got in 2016, and we had a hell of an about face. Gas prices were the fastest, and the minute the gas prices go down, you see energy costs go down, you see shipping costs go down, and suddenly people go, "Oh, well, gas is only $1.89 a gallon, and milk is $2 a gallon, and maybe I'll take the kids to Disney World." Not that I support Disney World, but it's just one. That's the snowball, and the snowball hasn't started rolling yet. So, anyways, all that's to be said is we're a good year away from seeing the changes that I was hoping to see a lot faster. I think next year could very well be a haymaker year for the personal watercraft industry. Right now, the personal watercraft industry is on the ropes, and I mean not as bad as we've seen before, but really not good. They took some severe hits post-COVID. They took some severe hits with supply chain, and sales have not rallied. And dealerships are, quite frankly, sitting on a lot of product. The product is expensive. The product is bloated. The product is heavy. And the product doesn't appeal to a wider audience. They have built a pantheon of product that appeals to old fat people, not young athletes. I am not a young athlete. I'm 47 years old. I got a bad shoulder. My hip clicks, and quite frankly, I think I have a fractured toe, and I've been in an extraordinary amount of pain today. I'm on all sorts of painkillers, so I'm a little woozy. So, anyways, do I blame manufacturers for building product that more and more vocal potential buyers ask for? Yes and no. Yes and no. We saw manufacturers gravitate from their best-selling year to their worst-selling years. And it wasn't just we kept our product the same and the audience changed. If the product line was static, and the audience around them changed, if the environment changed and the audience changed, then we could say it's not the product's fault, it's the audience's fault. But we have a lot of changing variables. It's just too dynamic of an environment. The dynamic of the environment is political atmosphere change, making use of these watercraft on specific waterways impossible. Okay, you got that. Then we saw an increasing of a dramatic increase in obesity rates and less activity. Okay, that's a factor. We saw younger buyers stop buying personal watercraft and move on to motorcycle sales. Okay. And motorcycle side by sides, things like that. So the product wasn't appealing to them. And then we watched cost increase. And the cost increase were also compounded by the fact that they were getting more and more bells and whistles, more and more technologically advanced. And that contributed to the change. So, Drew, why is no one buying jet skis? But it seems like everyone can afford a $200,000 wakeboard boat. Credit, you could get credit. You could refinance your house. You could pull money out of different assets, and jet skis have not, personal watercraft jet skis, I use those interchangeably. They have not, well, let's look at it this way. You're 30 years old, 35 years old, you've refinanced your condo that you've got, and you've pulled every bit of equity out, and you're totally maxed on your credit cards. And now you've got a Denali 2500 towing, a Watercraft or a Mastercraft wake boat. And everyone wants a piece of you. Everyone wants to be your best friend, and every girl thinks you're the cat's meow. Even though you might be 5'8" and balding, they still think you're great because you're a catch. You got a bunch of money. At least that's what it looks like outwardly. Well, unfortunately, a jet ski, an Explorer Pro, is not going to be the, hey, look at me, sweetheart. That's not the catcher. That's not the, ooh, have you seen his, I don't know, freaking A. His Fish Pro. Ooh, I'm so excited about his Fish Pro. Remember when everything was sold with the mindset of, if you buy this, girls will want to sleep with you? Beer, cigarettes, clothing, motorcycles, cars. Didn't matter what it was. McDonald's Big Mac. You buy a Big Mac and the girl's like, ooh, he can afford a Big Mac. He must be a high roller. I don't know. But that sex sells thing, humans are still wired the same way. I bet you in today's environment, if you dared to put out ads that were burnouts and girls in bikinis and red meat, it'd still sell. I don't think anything's changed, personally. I just don't think so. So let's wrap it up. It's already been an hour. I did not see. There's one super chat. Let's get the super chat. Henry writes, "Hey Kevin, how you doing? I got a map tuner for my Superjet, and I got it from Greenhill Garage. Greg and Jerry were extremely helpful when getting supporting mods." That's fantastic. I'm glad to hear it. In case you didn't know, if you use the checkout Green Hulk at checkout, if you use the little coupon code Green Hulk, you'll get 10% off any one of their purchases. They kind of give that one out as a freebie. But that's great, and you're gonna tune your Superjet. That'll be fun. Superjet, I thought, was a fantastic. I always thought the Superjet was a fantastic entry, especially for being a four-stroke. I thought it was very well balanced. It was night and day from the SXR 160. I thought the SXR 160 was unruly. I thought it was too big. I thought it was ungainly. I really had heavy criticisms of the SXR, especially compared to the old 800. A little bit of a heartbreaker for me on that one. Let's go through a couple questions because I saw a few, even though they weren't super chats. And we will then wrap this one up. I only wanted to be a little bit over an hour. I didn't want to go an hour and a half or anything like that. Lawrence writes, Kevin, have you ever rode in Lake Havasu? Yes, I'm originally from Southern California. I grew up going to Lake Havasu. I went to Body Beach when I was in my early teens. I went to Lake Havasu on Memorial Day weekends when you could literally walk from boat to boat to boat to boat to boat to boat to boat all the way through the London Bridge Resort without ever getting wet. So yes, I am. I wouldn't say I was part of the old school, but I remember it. All righty. Prices are going up, never down. That's a factor of our money not being worth anything. Let's see here. What other questions we got? A 60-mile-an-hour spark would scare the pants off of most. I agree. And that would be very exciting. It's an exciting watercraft. That's what you want, is something exciting. Drew makes the most salient point, and it's something that I despise. And that it's shocking how many people are brand new to jet skiing and buy 325s. I've been drag racing my 69 Dodge Charger this season. And with a 5-speed, it has revealed some ineptitudes that I've had when it comes to drag racing a stick shift. I had a very lovely older gentleman in his late 70s coming to me and he goes, "Your car's a stick?" I go, "Yeah." And he laughed. And he goes, "You know, an automatic sure does compensate for a lack of talent." He goes, "You're kind of letting it all out there when you're racing a stick shift. You really, you can't hide your mistakes with a stick shift." And I actually really appreciated that because, again, stick shift drag racing takes quite a bit of skill, especially if you lack talent. So the same thing goes with a lot of these machines. A big, fat, heavy runabout will compensate for a lack of riding ability. So there we go. All right, let's see here. Oh, we got a couple more super chats. Kevin writes, "Happy Father's Day. My GP now does 94. Jiminy Christmas. Why? Ugh." Phil writes, "Can you check out my question on above? Appreciate it greatly." All right, let's find Phil's question, folks. Where's Phil's question? All right. Phil. What? Only experience is a 2016 155 CD GTI, Indian River, Central Florida riding. Was great till summer storm, hull pulled right, left, etc. Would an FX HO Cruiser 24-25 cut through water better? The hull's unchanged since 2019. So go find a 19 or whatever. Doesn't matter. In 2022, they went to SMC fiberglass. It's heavier, less flexing. You'll still crack the paint. I can't support Yamaha for using the damn paint on the hull, so I can't recommend it because they keep using freaking cheap ass, thin as eggshell, robin's eggs paint. So it's going to flex and it's going to crack. And if you're going to ride the Indian River and get caught in storms, you're going to get tossed around. Now, I do like if you're looking for a medium-sized watercraft and want to keep GTIs, in 2020, Sea-Doo changed the hull for the GTIs to the Polytech hull. They even have the Polytech hull for the 230 and 300s. I believe in my heart of hearts that the GTRX 300 is singularly one of the best runabouts I've enjoyed in the last 10 years of my life. I mean this. My heart of hearts, hand to God, I love it. I truly do. I think proportionally, weight, storage, ergonomically, everything about the GTR and the GTR-X. The GTR-X is basically the RXP ergonomics, cockpit, more or less. I think it's fantastic. And it's Polytech. And I've beaten the snot out of Polytech. Ran it up on rocks. I've hit my bunks too hard. I've come up on concrete. I've ran over trees. I treat it like shit because I don't own it. I treat it like a renter. I can't recommend anything from Yamaha because at least the painted hulls from Yamaha, because they paint the hulls. I can't recommend it. So I'm sorry. Because I know it's a can of worms. I know you're gonna have cracks and fissures, and the paint's gonna peel off, and then it's gonna be a big old strip of exposed fiberglass, and you're gonna sit there and you go, you know what? This ski is a pile of crap, and I want to punch whoever the hell is in charge of Yamaha straight in the teeth. Because I would be just as mad. So I would say stick with Sea-Doo. Sea-Doo's got its warts. Don't get me wrong. They're not perfect. But I truly, truly love the GTI hull. I don't think it's the greatest hull ever designed. People think that when I say I like it. It's not. But it's stable. It tracks a little bit smoother. And ergonomically and balance-wise, the ski is incredibly well balanced, especially for a supercharged unit. Now, if you were to look to go naturally aspirated, the GTI SE 170 got Watercraft of the Year a couple of years ago, and it's unchanged besides colors. And the GTI SE 170 is a fantastic runabout. It's fantastic. It doesn't chatter, doesn't rattle, doesn't bust loose. Has good ergonomics, has good storage. You have access to the link system, which I believe is the best link system. You do not need to put an extended deck on it like every other dumbass who thinks they need an extra 1.5 to 2 inches of deck space because it's a gimmick and people are idiots and they're like gimmicks. You don't need it. So I think the GTI platform is the best mid-size platform there is today, personally. All right, Henry had another one. Would you change an air box when you tune the ski? I presume you're talking about the Superjet. Well, the tune is probably going to want greater airflow. Here's your problem. It's a stand-up ski. It's going to be underwater a lot. The air box that they designed for it is meant with this in mind. So I would have a very hard time recommending changing the air box for a stand-up ski 4-stroke that is likely going to be submerged at least 3 or 4 times every session you ride. Now, I do not know what Riva offers for an increased airflow for it. They very well may say, leave the air box the hell alone. What I understand about the TR1 is that the air box and the airflow is not the problem. It's the exhaust manifold that's the problem. But that is for the forums to decide, because I don't have any I've never put hands on a Superjet to change out anything. And I don't have any contacts who race Superjets. So I can't give you any sort of definitive advice like I could on something older. Yeah, I would leave the airbox alone. That is, Phil, you could gator glide the damn thing, but you're gator gliding over paint unless you go to a guy who is, now there's some really primo dudes who go out there and they just they sand down and repaint the hulls, or they gator glide the hulls. I don't like gator glide because gator glide is a porous surface. It's a textured surface. All right. You don't need a textured surface. What you need is paint with a flex additive, but Yamaha can't seem to pull their head out of their ass to put $40 worth of flex additive in their 55-gallon drum of paint that they paint all their skis out of. And people want to sit there and they want to ignore this and go, oh, Kevin's being overcautious. And then the next thing they do is they go onto Facebook and they go, this stupid thing's full of hairline cracks and hairline fractures. What the hell, Yamaha? And I go, hey, shithead, I told you this a year ago. But don't listen to the red-faced ginger because he's just a meanie. It's not like I know what I'm talking about or not. Anyway. No, Henry, 98% of people who gator glide their skis are never going to push their ski to the point that they'll feel it. You're not wrong, but 98% of people who are going to gator glide their Yamahas will never feel the detrimental effects of the textured surface. They're just not. All right. I was in the wrong 4 years ago or 3 years ago or 5 years ago, whenever the hell I said it. I don't even remember. Where I got together with racers, with engineers. I talked to Sea-Doo's engineers. I talked to all these guys who did repairs. And I said, what's your take on Gator Glide and all of these textured surfaces? And every single one of them said, do not touch it with a 10-foot pole. Every single one of them. But they are all talking at high level performance. They are talking at high level performance. And guess what? 98% of the people who gator glide their skis are tourists. They fart around with their old lady on the back, listening to their cha-cha music and drinking Mike's Hard Lemonade. They don't care. You know, a bunch of White Claws and Mike's Hard Lemonades and seltzers and all their bullshit. Yeah. They're not going to feel it. So I have to back off. I had to go, hey, listen, chill out. Because I'm coming off saying it's going to screw you all up and you're going to go washing out into the weeds and you're going to hit a tree or something like that. And all these people are like, bro, I've had Gator Glide for years on my skis. It's never been a problem. And I go, you're right. It hasn't been a problem. Because I'll give you $50 if you've ever been above 45 miles an hour longer than 20 minutes held unbroken. These people do not ride wide open throttle. And when I say do not ride wide open throttle, it's not, oh, I did it. I went wide open. No. I mean to the point that your hands are cramping and you're breaking things loose because you're racing. These people don't. They don't. And I'm not saying you're less than, not saying that you're an inferior rider. I'm just saying hey, how many of you have worn a helmet on a jet ski? 95% will say I've never bought a helmet. Why would I wear a helmet? It's because you're in a race, or you're in the soup, you know, and you don't want to knock your teeth out because you're jumping skis. So again, most people will never wear a helmet. Most people will never don a helmet in their lives, and that's okay. You know, it's just different. It's just a different creature. All right. I have very little racing experience. I have about 5 years total of, maybe 6 of racing experience. I am not hyper competitive. I do not have the racer mindset. I am not built like a racer. Naturally, I am 4 inches taller than the average racer, and I am certainly 50 to 60 pounds heavier than the average racer. I'm not that guy. And the older I get and the more gray and white that appears in my beard and hair, the further I get from that. I went to a church Halloween party. When did I do this? This might have been like 2015. My kids were real little, right? They're dressed up as Disney princesses, whatever. And my wife's like, "Hey, I'm helping hand out candy at the Halloween party. Can you take the girls?" I said, "Sure." And I didn't have a costume, so I went into my gear closet and I put on all my old jet pilot riding gear: helmet, vest, gloves, boots, the whole kit and caboodle. And I went out, and people were like, "What are you?" I go, "I'm a jet ski racer." They're like, "People race jet skis?" I go, "Okay, here we go." What are you gonna do? Yeah. I've had too many bullets fly past me in this point in life. I just want to cruise with dolphins, jump a wake here and there. I'm a little older than you, Kevin. I think Gator Glide will work. Phil, I think Gator Glide will be fine. If you want to buy a Yamaha and Gator Glide it and add a couple $1,000s onto your Gator Glide or of Gator Glide onto your Yamaha, you're more than welcome to do it. Understand that Yamaha will void the fuck out of your warranty, like with a vengeance. And I apologize for swearing, but I do not know how to emphasize it any more strongly. They will void your steering. They will void your storage. They will void your seat warranty. They will void everything. Because Yamaha loves to void the warranty. They love it. They get off on it. They just read warranty claims and touch themselves and twist their own nipples. They love it. So anyway, all right, that's it for tonight. I think that'll be it. Thanks again for coming in. Thanks for the super chats, guys. Appreciate the support. This was a mellow one. Let's try to find something to talk about next week. Maybe I'll bring Greg on. Maybe if I can finally get Billy, we'll have a group chat, and then we'll go from there. All right, party folks. Let's have a good one and have a good week, and we'll talk to you soon. Adios.